I'm sharing my screen. Okay, can you all please see my screen? Can you all see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, so when you open the link, this is what you are going to see on your screen. So all that you have to do is to come here, this drop down icon here, and download. That's all. So you will get the whole package. So it's as simple as this. So you will come here, then you select the download option here. Then after it has downloaded, I think most of you, your default location will be your downloads. So you go to your downloads, you open the folder, and you just launch this file. This file that my cursor is on, Stata MP64 launch. That's all. Please, any concerns so far? Anyone who tried
Hello,
this?
please, yes. Please, I just joined.
You just joined. Okay,
Yes,
so I
please.
was saying some people are having problem downloading the package. So I'm trying to demonstrate how to download the package. You open the link, and when you open the link, this is what the screen that will appear. These are the files in the folder. These are the files, auto.dta. These are the files. You don't download them individually. This is the name of the folder, Stata 17.
Okay.
Stata 17. So you you click the drop down button here, then you select the download option. And
Okay, I
that's
see.
also your whole folder will be downloaded. And you go to your downloads, you locate Stata 17, and you select this file. So I'm going to demonstrate that for you.
Okay.
Um,
So please, if you download them individually, it won't come, right?
um, it will come. It will come. So you have to download the folders here too. Individual, all these for the ADO, docs, utilities, and all of them. If you download them individually, you have to copy them all into one folder. Other than
Okay.
that, it wouldn't launch. So all of the files must be in one folder. So there is no need
Okay.
downloading them individually. You have to download the folder at once. So you select the drop down button here, you go to download, and that's all. Once the download is
Please.
done, you don't need to do any installation. What I have done here
Okay.
is to put the installation files
Please,
in. Yeah, is there have any question?
can you do that again? I didn't see what you did.
Yeah, so I said if you open the link, this is what will appear on your screen. So you click the drop down. This is the name of the folder,
Okay.
Stata 17.
Okay.
So you click the drop down
Okay.
button here, and you select download.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
Hello, my boss. Please, one question, quick one. Can we get a video after the class?
Yeah, you are going to have access to that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
okay. Any concern so far?
So please, after the download, you don't need to do any installation again.
No, so let me share. Okay, let me share my entire screen. Um, so after the download, these are the files that you see in your folder. Stata 17. These are the files. So all that you have to do is to double click this file, and you are good to go.
Okay.
All you have to do is to double click this file. You are good to go.
Alright.
You have to make sure you don't delete any file in the folder.
Okay.
Because all files in the folder are very important. So when you double click, it just launches. And that's all. For the first timers, when you launch it for the first time, you will see an option where you'll be asked to receive updates. You have to disable automatic updates, and then you click OK. So if you open it for the first time, you have to disable automatic updates, and you click OK. Okay, are we good?
Okay, so please, in my downloads, I can see utilities 20, 30, then some numbers. I don't know where that's it.
Yeah, so do you see all the files I showed you?
Not all of them, please.
So meaning
Some
they
are
are
still
still
downloading.
downloading.
Okay, okay,
Meaning it's still downloading.
okay.
Yeah. So it's about 1.45 gigabytes.
Okay.
That's the size. And this is the latest version of Stata.
Okay.
Yeah. Pre-registered. Okay, please. Any other person with any concern? Please, if you have been able to successfully launch your Stata, can you say something, put something in the chat box, or let me know how many of you have your Stata software ready. Okay, so Rahel has hers ready. Please raise your hand if you've been able to successfully launch. So Enoch Asari is not able to. Enoch, what's your problem? Can you please put in the chat box the problem you are encountering so we help you? We need to be at the same page. All of us must have our software running before we start with the analysis. Okay, so Enoch Asari doesn't have enough space. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. It's either you delete some files from your machine or you try and do these classes on a different machine. That's unfortunate, Enoch Asari. It's unfortunate. You can still follow through the lessons. Once we are done, this lesson is going to be 80% practical. So we do it together online. And once we are done, after all the sessions, we will share the slides with you so that at your spare times, you could also go through yourself. So Enoch, you can still join us and follow through and take note of whatever we are doing. But for you not to be left out practically, I would advise you either delete some files from your machine to get some space or get a machine for this purpose. Please, apart from Rahel and Enoch, anyone else?
It's
If you've been
myself.
able,
I I don't know whether it's downloaded or not.
you said?
I don't know whether it has downloaded or not because
When did you start downloading?
About 5 minutes ago.
I don't think by now it will be done. So check your web browser, go to the where the notification is, and you will see them downloading. I don't think by 5 minutes, or I'm not aware of how fast your internet connectivity is, but 5 minutes is too short a time to download. So Maxwell upon says it's now downloading. Okay, Mary, I'm a friend. Do you have any concerns? Have you been able to download it? Can I hear from you, Mary? Mary, are you online?
Hello, I'm here.
Yeah, Mary, I was asking whether you've been able to successfully launch your Stata. Have you been able to
No,
download it?
no, please. I'm here to.
You are yet to.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, so you were able to see the demonstration I did, Mary?
No, please. The link, the network was a bit rough, so I'm not able to access.
Okay, okay. But you've been able to access the folder.
No, please. I'm here to.
You are yet to.
Yes, please.
Okay, so today is going to be a short introduction and the downloading of the software, so we know we are on the same page. So this is
Okay.
about data analysis. Data analysis, and when we talk of data analysis, let me share my screen.
Rahel, your hand is up. I don't know if you have something to say.
Oh no, it was asking to download software.
Oh, okay.
All right. So we are going to introduce ourselves to data analysis. And as we said earlier, I'm Emmanuel Hansen, and I'm a data analysis enthusiast with a background in MPhil economics from the University of Ghana and a facilitator with best grade services. So you can connect with me through my LinkedIn account. And you can also go to LinkedIn and search best grade and follow the organization. All right, so data analysis is a process, as you see on my slide, of collecting, transforming, cleaning, and modeling data with the goal of discovering the required information. So data analysis has become very important in our current world. Everything in our current world is becoming data, from organizations level to country level. Now, if we're a country and you want to rule the world, it's dependent on how much data you have. So someone says that he who controls data controls the world. And the issue of digital space or digital revolution has also made data analysis very important. As a student or as a researcher, you need hello, do you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay, sorry. So as a researcher, you need data analysis skills to Enoch has raised a hand. Enoch, do you have any concern?
Please, your screen is not visible. If you can project it, we're unable to see
Sure,
your screen.
sure, okay. Uh, do you see it now?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So I'm saying as a researcher, you need data analysis skill in your research works. So those in various institutions reading master's program, we have what we call thesis, and at the end of your academic year, you'd have to produce an original work, an original research, and you need a data analysis skill to be able to analyze the data in your research process. Market women also need to conduct surveys, get to know the trends in the market, and be able to analyze the data. Church administrators need data analysis. School administrators need data analysis, because now if you have data, you'll be able to get a lot of information from what your data tells you. So, as I said, it's a process of collecting, transforming, cleaning, modeling data with the goal of discovering the required information. So the data analysis process starts with collecting, where you get your data. So assume you are a market woman and you want to know how to increase sales. How are your customers? How do they perceive your product? Are they satisfied with your services? These are some data you collect. So you do that by either sending a questionnaire, or you go to them to interview them with an interview guide to get some data from them. And once you get the data, that is the collection stage. You transform the data. You transform the data into how the software you are using, or how you'll be able to work on the data to get the information you require. So for instance, you go to the market, you collect data with a sheet of paper, you get your things down, and you are using Stata to analyze this data. You have to transform the data to a format that Stata can recognize and use. And the basic database or data analysis software that we know is Excel, Microsoft Excel. So you get names of people, their age, their background, their religion, and all that. You type them in Excel. If you want to use Excel for your analysis, you have to transform what you have collected into a format that your software would be able to identify. After you have done that, you have to clean the data. Clean the data means that there are some data points that may not be necessary. There are some information that you couldn't get. There are some mistakes that you did in your data collection process. You have to make sure that all your data is cleaned. You get the data ready for analysis. And
Hello.
now that, hello, any question?
Yes, please. Mine just downloaded now. So which of the files do I click to launch it?
Yeah, so Stata MP64 launch.
Okay. Okay. All
Launch.
right.
Yeah. So once you have your data cleaned ready, then you have to model. So the modeling is where you choose an appropriate methodology that will be suitable for your analysis. After you have modeled and obtained your result, the results need to be communicated. And so the data analysis does not end at the analysis. It ends at policy recommendation. It ends as suggesting solutions to problems. So it's not just about analyzing data, but what we get, the results we obtain must be communicated. And based on the results, we should be able to suggest solutions to the problems we're trying to solve. So note the keywords: collecting, transforming, cleaning, modeling, communication. These are the keywords when we talk about data analysis. So in data analysis, the first thing that we do is to ask questions. Data analysis does not start with the data and analyzing the data. It starts with a question, and it's what we term as the problem statement. So we have the data analysis process, and when we come to the data analysis process, what we will be doing from now till to the time we end, we are going to start with question, then we go to wrangle, then we explore, we model and communicate. So data analysis starts with questioning, wrangling, exploration, modeling, and communication. Now, you might be the best data analyst in the world. You might have the most advanced data analysis tool. You might have the most comprehensive data available with you. But if you don't have a good question, you will not have a good data analysis. You might have the data all right, but what are you telling? What information are you bringing on board? What solution are you advancing? And this must start with question. So no matter how much information you have or how advanced your tools are, your data won't tell you much if you don't start with the right questions. So it's either you are given data and ask questions based on it, or you ask questions first and gather data based on that later. So assume you are an economist and you want to do data analysis. You want to analyze the macro economy. You can't just stand up and say, I'm doing data analysis because I have some data online. No, it must start with a question. What kind of problem are you looking at? What is the problem? Where in the economy are you having problem? So the first thing that you need to do is to note the questions or the problem you are dealing with. So it could be that, oh, okay, so recently we have seen that the exchange rate is depreciating. And you see the economy also not doing well to the extent of we going to the IMF. So you ask yourself, could this low performance or poor performance of the Ghanaian economy be associated with exchange rate depreciation? Can it be the cause? Why is Ghana suffering? Why is the economy doing bad? Is it because of the exchange rate? Then maybe you read the news and hear Baumia once said, if the fundamentals of your economy are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. Okay, so is what Baumia said really what it is? Is it that because exchange rate is depreciating, that's why the economy is fumbling? Now, once you have asked yourself these questions, then you'd want to know the relationship that exchange rate in Ghana has with economic growth. Then you go online and you look for data relating with these questions. Then you, based on the questions, you do your analysis. So that's one. For academic research or any other explorations, you could also have available a lot of data variables. So you can go through the data variables and select the variables that you think you want to analyze on to know how the variables are faring. So that's why I said that it's either you are given the data and you ask questions based on the data, or you ask the questions first and gather the data based on that. Please, anyone with any questions so far? All right, so if you have a question, kindly let me know so that we address your question. Okay, so in both cases, great questions help you focus on relevant parts of your data and direct your analysis towards meaningful sites. So assume you are a head teacher in a basic school and you realize that on Fridays, students don't come to school. Students don't come to school. So on Friday, the school is virtually empty. So the question you ask yourself is, why are students not coming to school on Friday? Based on that, you can set out a questionnaire and give to the student to fill. And through the questionnaire, you realize that there might be a reason why students don't come to school on Friday. And based on the reasons, you'll be able to prefer solutions. Now we have what we call the SMART framework. If we are asking your questions must be smart. And your questions will help you to set the right objectives for your data analysis. So the SMART framework is also referred to as the SMART objective framework. And it's a mnemonic which could be expatiated. So the S stand for specific. Your question must be specific. Your question must be specific. So let me bring in the economy again. You want to solve a problem, then you ask yourself, why is the economy of Ghana, or why is the economy of Ghana not doing well? This is a question, all right, but hello, is anyone asking a question?
No, please.
Okay, so you tell yourself, I'm going to do a data analysis on why the economy of Ghana is not doing well. You've asked your question, but where are you starting from? How are you going about it? So the question must be specific. So for instance, based on the preamble I gave, what effect does exchange rate has on economic growth in Ghana? Your question is specific. So it should address the problem you are looking at. Does it address the problem? Does it have a context? Will it uncover a lot of the information you need? Now, you should know that any time you set out to do data analysis, you will not be able to exhaust everything about that scenario you are looking at or about that phenomenon you are looking at. So there must be a context, and your question should fit rightly in the context and be able to give you enough information that you need. Then the next one is measurable. Measurable. So I'm linking the question to the objective. So when I say the question, I mean your objective. So your objective should be specific, then it should be measurable. Most times people say, I want to do this research, I want to do this analysis, and you ask them, how are you going to measure it? So for instance, I want to know how Christianity, or I want to know the effect of faith, on purchasing decisions. The effect of faith on purchasing decisions, let's say of a particular product. So ask yourself, how are you going to measure the faith? If you are going to be quantitative, is there any scale of measurement? Or someone will say the effect of I don't know the examples to give, but the questions, your objective should be measurable. Will be measurable. If you say you want to know the effect of exchange rate, is exchange rate measurable? Yeah, yes, you can measure it. If you say you want to know the impact of let's say academic performance, the impact of academic performance on job or on the probability of getting a job, the impact of academic performance on the probability of getting a job, you ask yourself, is academic performance measurable? How are you going to measure the academic performance? So you can say, okay, I will use GPA to measure academic performance. And that's it. But you ask yourself, is the measure a good measure? And this is what we also look at. Then A, it should be action oriented. Action oriented. Will the answers provide information that helps you devise some type of action plan? Then the R, your objective should be relevant. Should be relevant. We don't just set out to do data analysis. It should be able to solve a particular problem, a real problem. So it's a question about the particular problem you are trying to solve. It should be relevant. Then it should be time bound. It should be time bound. So you ask yourself, are the answers relevant to the specific time being studied? I'm sure these are self-explanatory, so I'm going to move forward. If you have any question, you should ask. If not, then I go to the next item. The next item is wrangling the data. So now we have our problem. Based on our problem, we've obtained our data. Now we need to wrangle the data. So we just make sure that all the data we have are of the right quality. And wrangling data is known as a pre-processing data. So before you even set out to model or use the software to analyze your data, you should be able to ensure that your data is devoid of any error. So I'll be giving you some steps. First of all, you gather the data you need to answer your right question. Then you assess your data to identify any problems in your data's quality or structure. So this is where we get to. When we start the practicals, we would come through this. Sometimes you download data from the internet and you realize that for some years or for some observations, there are missing uh, data points there. And you have to make sure that these are cleaned, modify them. If it is a panel data you are looking at, you have to set the structure well as a panel data so that the software can recognize it as a panel data. If it's a time series data, you have to structure your data well to be recognized as a time series data. And so these are the process you go through before you start your analysis. And about 80% of your analysis time will be spent here. Once you get your data correct, the analysis becomes smoother. So raw data is usually dirty, untidy, and unfit for your analysis. We have quality issues, and these are missing values, duplicate or incorrect data. So sometimes you for whatever reason, you would realize that maybe you are collecting data on gender. You ask someone to collect data on gender. Now you have your data, gender, and the responses are 3, 4, 5, or figures, which doesn't make sense. Then you go to age and you see female, males. So there you realize that the data values have been misaligned. The gender has been given to age, the age has been given to gender. So this is where you we call the incorrect data. You correct it. Sometimes you see that there are duplicates in the data. You have to take the duplicate off, and the missing values too, you have to deal with it. Then we have the tidiness issues. So sometimes you realize that multiple variables have been stored in one column. Sometimes the column headers are values instead of the variables. So when you are collecting data, whether time series or panel, your column headers should be the names of the variables you are looking at. So sometimes you realize that the headers are not variables, but they are values, and the variables are somewhere in the middle of the data set. And these are what we call tidiness issues that we need to look at before we set out to analyze our data. So by visual means, just watching and looking at how the data is going, you can identify these issues, or you can also run some commands. We'll use Stata to do that, to see how your data is looking like. Sometimes you have your data in figures, but the software will recognize it as a string value, which means that the software does not recognize it as a figure, but as a text. When you use a command to explore the data, you will see how the data are looking at like, and be able to tidy up the data. So we have data quality dimensions. It should be complete, it should be valid, it should be accurate and consistent. We will look at all these when we start with the data analysis proper. Then the third is to explore. Now you've had your questions. Based on your question, you've gotten your data, you've gone through the data, identified some abnormalities and corrected them. Now you need to explore how your now ready to use data look like. So we have what we call exploratory data analysis. That is where you try to draw some graphs, you use some infographics to see how your data is looking at. Like if it's a time series data, you just do some line graph to see the trend in the data and all that. And once you are able to do that, then we go to the modeling. And this is where the main analysis starts. So depending on your objective and nature of the data, you may build a cross-sectional model. So we'll look at what a cross-sectional model is. We'll look at what a time series model is. We'll look at what a panel model is. And by the time we are through with this session, and that's the end of next month, we would be able to at least be masters in two or all of these areas. So under cross-sectional modeling, we look at linear regression. We'll also look at the logits or the probates. We'll talk about that. Time series, we have the ARIMA model, we have the vector autoregression model, we have the autoregressive distributed lag, and we have other modelings that we'll look at. And the panel, we'll do random and fixed effects. And if we have time, we'll look at some dynamic panel regression analysis too. Yeah. And once we are done with our data analysis, our final step, as I said earlier, would be to communicate our results. So you often need to justify and convey meaning the insights you found. And we'll look at that, how to report our findings, how to present them, and based on the findings, we'll be able to make some suggestions. So this is the end of my first presentation. I would pause here for a while. I do want you to ponder on what we have done, and if you have any question, you either say it or you type it in the chat box. Thank you very much. Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Anyone who didn't hear me? Ibrahim,
Yes, please.
were you able to follow all the presentation?
Yes, please. I did.
Oh, okay. It seems some people are having connectivity issues.
But at the point, I lost connection, but I rejoined.
You rejoined.
Yes, please.
Rahel, were you able to follow through?
Yes, please. I was.
Okay. So, any questions so far?
No questions so far. I think I'm okay.
Okay. So, I'm moving next. I'm moving to our next presentation. If you have no question, Kasari, are you following? Can I hear you, Enoch? Enoch, do you hear me? Hello, Enoch. Maxwell, are you on? Okay, Mary.
Yeah.
All right. So we move to our next presentation, and this is specifically on the software Stata. All right, so I'm sharing my screen. Do you all see my screen?
No, please.
Let's see. Okay. All right, so I've shared my screen. You see it now?
Yeah.
All right. So introduction to Stata. There are a lot of data analysis software in the market. We have SPSS, we have eViews, we have Smart PLS. The most popular, we have Excel, and many others. But Stata is one of the best software we can use for data analysis. So we are going to introduce ourselves to Stata. We'll see how we can navigate the Stata graphical user interface. We'll look at Stata files and how to manage them. We'll look at some data entry exercises, and then we take some assignments, and that will end today's session. So we've all heard Stata, and I know many of us have come across the word Stata, and it hasn't even crossed our mind to ask ourselves whether Stata actually means anything. And I'm sure this is going to be the first time most of us will get to know that Stata is actually an abbreviation of two words, which is statistics and data. Statistics and data. The first three letters of the word statistics and the last two letters of data were coined together to form the Stata software name. So basically, it's a software that performs statistical analysis with a given data set, just as any other statistical software does. And Stata has been in the system for a long time, since 1985, has been useful to many people in the fields of economics, sociology, political science, biomedicine, and epidemiology. Until now, Stata is used by researchers, church administrators. Like Stata is our friend, students, and everyone. So Stata software performs tasks like data management, statistical analysis, graphics. It does simulations, regression, and interestingly, it's also noted for custom programming. And this is what sets Stata above the other softwares in the market. And as I said earlier, it's one of the most popular and widely used statistical software in the world. So why Stata? Why are we doing Stata? Why not any other software? Now we are looking at Stata because of how friendly it is to use. It is regarded as the most user-friendly statistical software, and it has two main modes of operation. So those of us who are not good with commands, especially those who don't have any IT background, we can't do the coding and all that. Stata gives us the opportunity to point and click. So it has a very user-friendly interface that we can just navigate to do all the analysis that you can do. So actually, you can use Stata to perform all your analysis without typing a single command. And this is great. Then those of us who also want to use some command lines, Stata affords us that opportunity too. And this particular feature of Stata is what sets it above other softwares. So it has a command line function and it has a point and click user interface. Even with the commands, the syntax are easy to learn. They are very easy to learn and they are relatable. Unlike softwares or programming languages like Python, CSS, and that, and all of that, Stata's command syntax are easy to learn. Also, Stata is compatible with different operating systems. If you're using Windows, Mac, if you're using Unix, you can actually operate Stata. And not that, it also has an active community. So if you're a student of Stata and you find yourself in a situation, you are running an analysis and you are stuck, you are not alone. There is a whole community available to share your problems with, to share your successes with. So we have what we call the Stata list. We have the Stata journal, where you can get a lot of information for your data analysis. So I've provided a link on the page. You can see more resources on Stata through the link. After we share it on the WhatsApp page for us to access. Now next, let's go to the Stata screen. How many of us have been able to successfully launch the Stata software?
I have.
You have.
Yeah.
Who else? Who else? How many of us have not been able to?
Mine is still downloading.
Yours is still downloading.
Yes, please.
So we are in a fix now. Should I continue with the presentation? Because where we have gotten to, we need to be on the software. Yes, Enoch.
Yes, because some of us were not able to do. I think when you do, I don't know how we're going to follow. So if it's possible and we can end it here, then tomorrow we can do everything well and get prepared and kind fine. But if it doesn't work out, then you can maybe continue.
All right. So as I said earlier, this training is going to be 80 or let me say 90% practical. And so if you don't have your software installed, okay, good. Mark Mills just joined. Sir, Mr. Mark Mills.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we need to we need to come to a consensus here. We've got into the practical aspects, but some of us still don't have the software available. Do you suggest we end it here and continue tomorrow?
So if the intro part is not that technical, you can probably go ahead and then you fall on the recording and then probably practice, because we are also working with some timeline here. You get it? If not, our 8 meetings will not be enough. So if they are okay, we start something today and then tomorrow we make sure all of them are having the software tomorrow. That's fine. But if not, we can end the session today. So, guys, what do you think?
Okay, so let me get some feedback from the rest. Enoch has suggested we adjourn the meeting. Maxwell, what do you think?
If you're not yet there, that's cast, I think we can continue. But if we want, you'll be using it, then we adjourn, then we all come.
Please talk.
Yeah, I said like if you're not on the practical side now, then we can continue. But if indeed we need the like we should all be on the practical side, then we can adjourn the thing tomorrow to continue.
Yeah.
So that we can
So
all have time to then have access to it.
all right, sure. Okay, that is fine. So please make sure you have the Stata 17 working on your machine before tomorrow's meeting. All right.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for your time. So we meet tomorrow at 4 p.m. And most of the participants were also complaining they are at work and they'll be able to join. So I think it's in the right place. We start the practical session tomorrow. So do you have any questions so far before we end the meeting? Anyone with any question, raise your hand if you have a question.